Hello everyone, welcome back to Oni-chan. This young boy's name is Midoriya. Since he was a child, he has always wanted to become a superhero. While all his classmates have meta abilities, ironically, Midoriya is quirkless. He does not possess any abilities, therefore, he is often bullied by Bakugo and called Deku. When Bakugo learned that Midoriya wanted to apply to Hero Academy just like him, Bakugo immediately burned his hero notebook. "You are just a quirkless loser who can't compete with me." It turns out that since childhood, Midoriya has been a huge fan of the world's #1 hero, All Might, so every time, he makes his mother turn on YouTube to the Oni-chan review channel, to watch him save people. But, when he went to check his meta ability, the doctor informed him that he didn't have any meta ability. This shocked Midoriya because in this world, everyone has a meta ability, only he is special and has no abilities. This made Midoriya's mother worried. "Mom, can I be like him?" His mother could only apologize and say nothing, but he still didn't give up, believing that he would become a hero. While he was on his way home from school, he was caught by a liquid villain. He thought this time he was surely going to die. Unexpectedly, the hero All Might appeared. With just one punch, he defeated the villain. When Midoriya regained consciousness, he saw All Might next to him, and All Might put the villain into a bottle to hand over to the police. All Might even signed an autograph for him. "It's time for me to go now." All Might gently leapt up like a rocket flying into the sky. Unexpectedly, the boy clung to him, wanting to talk. This made All Might helplessly land on a nearby building. At that moment, he asked, "I don't have a meta ability, so, can I become a hero like you?" This surprised All Might, because people without meta abilities in this world are very rare. Suddenly, his body transformed into a skinny person, which shocked Midoriya. "Who is this skinny person?" "I am All Might." Surprising him, All Might saw that he had discovered his secret. So, All Might decided to tell Midoriya. 5 years ago, he was injured by a villain. Therefore, All Might's usage limit of his meta ability is now only 3 hours a day. Because Midoriya made All Might drop the villain escaped. At this moment, Bakugo was also here. So, the villain tried to take over his body. When All Might left, he discovered that the bottle had disappeared. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the city. All Might immediately ran to the scene. While other heroes were trying to save Bakugo and the surrounding people, the villain was about to take over Bakugo's body. By the time All Might arrived, he was already very tired, and he realized he couldn't do anything to help. Midoriya also arrived and realized it was his fault the villain escaped. Suddenly, he saw that the person captured was Bakugo. Midoriya instinctively ran towards the villain. At that moment, his body moved on its own to save Bakugo. All Might saw a quirkless kid being so brave. It inspired him to transform into his muscular form one more time, and he rushed in to save Midoriya. With just one punch, he blew the villain away. Finally, the villain was handed over to the police. While All Might was being interviewed, Midoriya was scolded for running into danger on his own. In the afternoon, while Midoriya was walking home, Bakugo ran up to him. "I don't need your help, got it?" As he walked away, All Might also appeared. He tried to act cool but immediately reverted back to his skinny form. All Might said, "You have the potential to become a hero." This made Midoriya burst into tears, because he was finally recognized. "From now on, you can inherit my power." This surprised Midoriya. Then, he explained to him, "My power is called One for All. It can be passed on to someone else. Do you want to receive it?" This made Midoriya happy, and he agreed. The next day, All Might took him to a beach to train for the Hero Academy entrance exam. He pulled with all his might, but the metal box didn't budge. At this moment, All Might explained, "The One for All ability unleashes the body's power. If your body can't handle it, it will explode." With just one hand, All Might crushed the metal box. He also prepared a training schedule for him. Every day, Midoriya had to clean up the trash on this beach. Additionally, he also made his own training plan, whether at home or in class. He never takes a break. Surprisingly, after only 3 months, he was exhausted. All Might realized Midoriya hadn't followed his plan, but, knowing he was training so hard to become a great hero like All Might, made him excited, and he helped him adjust his training plan. After months of effort, Midoriya finally cleaned up the trash on the beach. All Might knew that Midoriya had worked very hard to get into the Hero Academy. Suddenly, All Might plucked out a hair, and told Midoriya to eat it. It turns out that this is the way to pass on his power through DNA. Finally, the day of the entrance exam for the Hero Academy arrived. This made Midoriya nervous, and he realized the person standing below was voice hero, Present Mike. Meanwhile, Bakugo remains thoroughly annoyed with him. The rule of the exam is that all participants must defeat 4 types of villain robots to score points. 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points. A young man with glasses asked, "Why is there a robot worth 0 points?" Present Mike warned that if they encountered it, they should run away. Then, the competition began to prepare. The participants would have to fight in a simulated city. They only had 10 minutes to score points for themselves. As soon as the competition started, all the participants rushed forward. Midoriya also chased after them from behind. Suddenly, he encountered a robot, which made him so scared that he couldn't move. Fortunately, this blonde guy fired lasers to save him. At this moment, Midoriya realized that many robots had already been defeated. This girl has scored 28 points. The guy with glasses has scored 45 points. If he still doesn't have any points, he will fail. Suddenly, they release a giant robot worth 0 points. He remembers Present Mike's advice to run away if he encounters this robot. But Midoriya is still scared and unable to move. Suddenly, he sees the girl is stuck. So, he immediately runs to her. He activates the power of One for All and jumps into the sky. With just one punch, he sends the giant robot into the scrapyard. This surprised everyone, but both his arms and legs were broken. Midoriya realized his body still couldn't handle this power. At this point, he was about to sacrifice his remaining arm to land safely. Fortunately, the girl ran up and slapped him, helping Midoriya hover in the air. Thanks to her, he was safe. But the competition time had ended. This made Midoriya disappointed. Thinking he had failed this time, suddenly, an old nurse appeared. She kissed Midoriya, instantly healing his broken arms and legs. 1 week later, he continued to fall into despair. Suddenly, his mother received a letter, so he went into the room and opened it. Unexpectedly, an image of All Might appeared, announcing, "This exam not only tests abilities but also the qualities of being a hero." Thanks to his bravery in saving Ochako, he was scored by the judges up to 60 points, and officially got into the Hero Academy. That night, he immediately went to the beach to find All Might. And he found out that All Might would also be a teacher at the Hero Academy. But Midoriya had to continue training if he wanted to control One for All. Finally, the day came for Midoriya to enroll. As soon as he entered the class, he saw the guy with glasses arguing with Bakugo. He also met Ochako again. Suddenly, there was a strange teacher sleeping in front of the classroom. It turns out his name is Aizawa, their new homeroom teacher. So, he immediately took the whole class outside to test their abilities. The teacher wanted to test their long-distance ball-throwing ability. The first person is Bakugo. Combining with his explosion quirk, he throws it 0.43 miles, making them think this game is very easy. He says, if anyone ranks last in the tests, they will be expelled, making Midoriya worried, because currently he can only use One for All at 100% or 0%. The first test is running. Thanks to their abilities, everyone easily passes. But only Midoriya can't use his power. At this moment, Midoriya remembers. All Might told him to imagine using One for All as if cooking eggs. So, in the following tests, Midoriya always tries to control his power, but he still can't do it. Only the last ball-throwing test remains. While Ochako controls gravity to throw the ball into space, if Midoriya fails again this time, he will be expelled. But because he doesn't want to disappoint his mother and All Might, he activates One for All, intending to sacrifice his arm. Unexpectedly, he fails again. It turns out Aizawa deactivated his quirk. At this moment, Midoriya realizes he is Erasure Hero. While All Might is secretly watching from a corner, worried he'll expel Midoriya, Aizawa blames him for being reckless, saying he won't be able to become a hero like that. But Aizawa gives him a second chance. This time, Midoriya has realized. He continues to use One for All to throw the ball, but he only uses one finger, minimizing damage to the lowest level. The measured result is more than 0.43 miles. This immediately makes Aizawa have confidence in him, while Bakugo is shocked, thinking Midoriya has been hiding his meta ability all along. When he is about to attack Midoriya, Aizawa intervenes. It turns out that since he was little, Bakugo has always seen Midoriya as useless, and especially gave him the nickname, Deku. Finally, Aizawa announces the results. Midoriya thinks this time he will be expelled, but Aizawa says, expulsion was a lie. It turns out he just wanted to push their abilities to the limit. When Aizawa leaves, he meets All Might again. All Might says, "You've changed because last time you expelled an entire class. Did you notice anything special about that boy?" Aizawa says, "You care about that boy too much, don't you?" Meanwhile, Midoriya has gone to see the doctor to treat his finger. While he's on his way back with Lita, they run into Ochako, unexpectedly. She knows the nickname Deku that Bakugo gave to Midoriya. She thinks Deku means to strive, so Ochako actually likes it, but in reality, Deku means useless. So, Midoriya has friends who acknowledge him. Unexpectedly, the next day is a class taught by All Might, which excites the whole class. He says, "I have hero costumes for you guys," and he tells them to change and meet at the training area. It turns out these costumes are designed according to each person's requests and abilities. Unexpectedly, Midoriya's costume has a lot of similarities to All Might's, because he's a hardcore fan. At this point, All Might pairs everyone up, and they will split into a team of villains and a team of heroes. Unexpectedly, Midoriya's opponent is Bakugo. Midoriya and Ochako are on a hero team. They have to catch Bakugo and Lita's team who are protecting the bomb. He realizes he can't use one for all against his friend. Suddenly, Bakugo appears and attacks both of them, causing him to be burned on one side of his mask. Bakugo continues to attack, but Midoriya manages to catch him and throws him down. It turns out he had been analyzing Bakugo's moves in his notebook for a long time. Then, Bakugo kicked Midoriya. Unexpectedly, Midoriya predicts all of Bakugo's attacks. Suddenly, Midoriya disappears. It turns out he wants to lure Bakugo to another place, so Ochako can find the bomb. But Bakugo is very angry and wants to defeat Midoriya because since childhood, Bakugo has always been the most outstanding person, whereas Midoriya has always been someone useless following him around. He can't accept Midoriya surpassing him. Meanwhile, Ochako has found Lita and contacted Midoriya. Suddenly, he was discovered by Bakugo, so Bakugo decides to fight seriously with him, and even blows up the entire building, making Midoriya worried. Meanwhile, when Ochako tries to grab the bomb, Lita stops her. Bakugo continues to rush to attack Midoriya, and throws him down. Everyone realizes Bakugo is too strong. All Might is hesitating whether to stop the fight or not. Bakugo asks, "Why aren't you using your power? This time I will defeat you." So, Midoriya rushes forward, and starts using his one for all. Unexpectedly, he punches up to the ceiling, straight towards Ochako and Lita's location. Seizing this opportunity, Ochako jumps and grabs the bomb. Bakugo only just realized that Midoriya didn't want to fight him from the beginning, and he's aiming for the bomb. Finally, Midoriya's team wins, but he also faints. At this moment, Bakugo realizes Midoriya has figured out his fighting style, making Bakugo furious. All Might consoles Bakugo. He tells Bakugo to learn from it. So, the next match begins. Unexpectedly, this student just needs to freeze the entire building, which makes the opponents unable to move, and he easily wins. His name is Shoto, with the meta ability of fire and ice. He is one of the 4 recommended students, surprising everyone. Meanwhile, Bakugo continues to feel annoyed, because there's another person stronger than him. Finally, they all complete the exam. Midoriya was the only one who ended up in the hospital, so All Might immediately goes to visit him. It turns out All Might's body has reached its limit. At this point, he goes to talk to the doctor, because only 4 people in the academy know All Might's secret. By evening, Midoriya is discharged from the hospital. Unexpectedly, as soon as he enters the classroom, everyone comes to talk to him, because Midoriya's match was very impressive. But he doesn't see Bakugo anywhere, so Midoriya runs off to find him, because he knows Bakugo misunderstands him for hiding his meta ability. Thus, he has to reveal that this ability was received from someone else. But Bakugo is still angry for losing to Midoriya, and he realized that Shoto was stronger than him. He says, "Listen Deku, next time I won't fail and become number 1. Suddenly, All Might also appears to comfort him. "Let me go, I'll surpass him too." Midoriya realizes Bakugo has ignited his own fire. The next day, many reporters come to interview the students at the academy, but they were chased away by Aizawa, and the security system in the academy was activated. However, there is a villain lurking around the academy. At this time, Aizawa decides to elect someone as class president, so everyone is running for election. Then, Lita suggested the class vote. Surprisingly, Midoriya came out on top with 3 votes. Thus, he ended up being appointed as the class president during lunchtime. Then, Midoriya realized that Lita was more suitable for being class president than him. Suddenly, the school alarm went off. Turns out, the school's security system was compromised, causing all the students in the school to panic. Lita realized they couldn't continue like this, so he tried to reach out and touch Ochako's hand and fly up. And Iida used his engine quirk to blast into the wall. Thus, he immediately helped everyone calm down. Back in the classroom, Midoriya decided to hand over the class president role to Iida. The others agreed with him. Meanwhile, the teachers discovered that someone had sabotaged the school's security system. Aizawa then decided to take the whole class for further training. So, they were taken to a training area, where they simulated various accidents and disasters. Midoriya realized that the manager here is space hero Kuros, who has the ability to create black holes. Suddenly, a warp gate appeared out of nowhere. Aizawa immediately recognized that there was an intruder. While everyone thought the training was very realistic, no, they're real villains. The leader of these villains was trying to find All Might. Aizawa decided to confront them alone. He instructed Kuros to lead the students away, so he charged alone, using erasure against their abilities. And Aizawa used cloth strips to capture these villains. Midoriya realized that he was very strong. Suddenly, they were hindered by a villain controlling a warp gate. He said, "Our League of Villains will destroy All Might." So, Kirishima and Bakugo immediately rushed to attack him, but he wasn't harmed at all. He then opened a warp gate and separated everyone. Midoriya fell into the water. Suddenly, he was attacked by villain sharks. Fortunately, Tsuyu managed to save him in time. Her ability is Frog. When they had just climbed aboard the train, the villains continued to attack and chase them. Midoriya realized they couldn't wait for All Might to arrive, so he decided to take action on his own. On Shoto's side, he froze all the villains solid like statues. Meanwhile, All Might was talking with the principal. They still didn't know what was happening. Lita's group was still being blocked by the villain with the warp gate quirk. So, they decided to detain him while Lita went to inform everyone, because he's the fastest runner. So, Kuros immediately sucked him into her finger. On Midoriya's side, they were analyzing their abilities. He has super strength, while Mineta can create super sticky balls. Suddenly, they split the train in half. So, he jumped up and used one for all flick off into the air, creating a massive water vortex. Tsuyu immediately jumped up to catch Midoriya, allowing Mineta to throw the super sticky balls at them, making them stick tightly together. Thus, Midoriya's group was safe, while the others were still surrounded by villains. Kyoka has the earphone jack ability to amplify sound, while Momo has the creation ability. She immediately created an insulating sheet for Denki to shock them with electricity, because his ability is electrification. But after shocking them, he short-circuited his brain. Meanwhile, Aizawa was fighting with the villain leader. Unexpectedly, his ability turned out to be decay, causing his elbow to be injured. Despite this, Aizawa still tried to punch them. Suddenly, the villain leader gave the secret weapon to attack him. He was called Nomu, created to defeat All Might. On the space hero's side, he opened another warp gate to pull her back and defeat her. Lita realized he had to hurry, but the individual with the warp gate ability wasn't letting him leave easily. Ochako immediately grabbed his neck and made him fly up. Thanks to that, Lita managed to escape outside, while Nomu continued to brutalize Aizawa, beating him mercilessly. At this moment, Kurogiri also returned to report that a student had escaped, making Tamura worry that professional heroes would come. He said, "It's time for us to retreat. But before that, let's cause some damage to All Might." Suddenly, he attacked Tsuyu, leaving Midoriya unable to react in time. Fortunately, Aizawa managed to erase his decay quirk in time. Midoriya immediately activated One for All and landed a punch on him. Unexpectedly, this time his arm didn't break. It turned out Nomu absorbed all of Midoriya's punch. He said, "You're All Might's disciple, huh?" As they were about to be apprehended, All Might finally appeared. It turned out Lita had informed him. Seeing his students being attacked made All Might furious. He quickly defeated the villains, even rescued Aizawa and Midoriya's group. He immediately told him to leave and rushed to attack Tamura, but was then stopped by Nomu. Unexpectedly, he could continuously absorb All Might's punches, so All Might threw him from behind, creating an explosion. Everyone thought All Might had won, but Midoriya knew better. All Might was also reaching his limit. Because of his injuries, unexpectedly, Kurogiri created another warp gate. So, Nomu attacked All Might's old wound. Seeing All Might in danger, Midoriya immediately ran over. When Kurogiri tried to grab him, Bakugo rushed in and slammed his head down. Shoto also froze Nomu in place. Thanks to this, All Might managed to escape. Kirishima then attacked Tamura. Seeing everyone coming to help All Might, Midoriya regained his confidence. Bakugo discovered Kurogiri's weakness was in his neck. Unexpectedly, Nomu managed to break free, in addition to his shock absorption ability. He also had a super fast regeneration ability. He immediately attacked Bakugo to rescue Kurogiri. Fortunately, All Might managed to block that attack, but he was also injured. When they tried to help All Might, he stopped them, because he didn't want his students to get hurt, so All Might rushed to fight Nomu, creating shockwaves strong enough to blow away those around. Midoriya realized that each punch of All Might was using 100% of his power, leaving Nomu no time to recover, so All Might punched him straight into the sky. He said, "In my prime, it would have taken just 5 punches, but now, it takes over 300, now, it's your turn." Meanwhile, Tamura felt anxious, because All Might didn't weaken at all, completely overpowering them. All Might had to appear very tough at this moment. He couldn't let them know he was reaching his limit, but only Midoriya knew the true situation of All Might. Tamura was going crazy. Kurogiri said they still had a chance, so he calmly attacked All Might with the others. Seeing it was not okay, Midoriya immediately jumped out. He even sacrificed both his legs to punch Kurogiri. Tamura then used decay on Midoriya. Luckily, other heroes arrived in time. It turned out Lita had informed them. Present Mike stepped forward, shouting loudly to attack the villains. Tamura saw the situation wasn't good, so he decided to retreat. Unexpectedly, he was shot at again, so Kurogiri immediately took him away. "Next time, I will definitely kill you, All Might." Finally, they were safe. Midoriya blamed himself for not being able to help. "No, you saved me." Tamura has been taken back to the base. He immediately blamed his teacher, because All Might hadn't weakened at all. And he let him know, All Might also has a disciple with similar strength. Next time, they will definitely succeed in killing All Might. At this point, the whole class is safe. The police also captured Nomu and put him in prison. But Aizawa was seriously injured. Meanwhile, All Might and Midoriya are at the doctor's office. Suddenly, an inspector named Tsukachi arrived. All Might introduced him as his close friend, and he informed All Might that everyone was safe. Despite knowing that the villains were becoming more dangerous, All Might believed in his students. They would become strong heroes. At this point, news of the League of Villains attack on U, a hero academy had been reported, much to the surprise of the public. While All Might had sent a letter to his teacher, and he revealed everything about Midoriya. Although Midoriya was quirkless, he didn't hesitate to rush in and save others. So, All Might chose Midoriya as the successor of One for All. However, when he entered Hero Academy, Midoriya still couldn't control his power. Thus, All Might asked his teacher to train him. At Hero Academy, they investigated the League of Villains. They discovered that Tamura was the leader of this League of Villains, and his meta ability was Decay, along with Kurogiri, who had a meta ability called Warp Gate. The heroes realized that they would come back again, so Hero Academy had to stay vigilant. On Midoriya's side, he was rewatching All Might's video. He realized that the League of Villains was too strong, while he and his friends were too weak. Even Aizawa got injured while protecting them, so he had to quickly learn to control One for All. Because All Might didn't have much time left, the next morning, Midoriya's class was still remembering the battle. They felt lucky to still be alive, and they also realized how amazing All Might's power was. Suddenly, Aizawa arrived in the classroom, surprising everyone, because he was still very injured. Aizawa then announced to the whole class that Hero Academy was going to organize the U, a sports festival, leaving everyone surprised. But they felt the academy had just gone through a battle with the League of Villains. Would it be okay to hold the sports festival? However, Aizawa said that Hero Academy had tightened security 5-fold, so they didn't need to worry too much, because the sports festival was very important for Hero Academy, and there were a lot of people coming to watch this sports festival. They realized the sports festival would help them gain more experience and reputation. After graduation, they would easily be accepted into the agencies of professional heroes, making everyone very excited. While Midoriya's friends were discussing the sports festival, he felt worried. Suddenly, Ochako told them to try their best together, surprising Midoriya, because he had never seen Ochako so determined before. So, he later asked Ochako about her purpose of becoming a hero. It turned out Ochako wanted to become a hero to earn money, making her feel ashamed about it. But Midoriya and Lita felt this was very normal. They even came up with ideas to help her make money. It turned out Ochako wanted to earn money to help her parents, so they could have a more comfortable life. Seeing Ochako's determination, which made Lita very excited. Suddenly, All Might came to find Midoriya. He wanted to invite him to lunch. This made Lita and Ochako curious, because Midoriya and All Might were very similar, so they didn't find it strange that they were close to each other. At this point, All Might told Midoriya that the limit of his power usage was only 50 minutes, making Midoriya worried. All Might realized that he was about to participate in the sports festival. However, Midoriya still hadn't mastered One for All. Suddenly, he told All Might that there was one time he managed to use the smash technique, but his hand wasn't injured at all, which surprised All Might. However, he didn't know how to replicate it. All Might realized it was a step forward for Midoriya. At this point, All Might said his role as the symbol of peace was coming to an end, so he decided to pass One for All to Midoriya to make Midoriya his successor, and he said, "Show me your determination at the sports festival, where everyone in the world will be watching, and to prove that you're the next symbol of peace." All Might wants him to shout loudly, "I am here." This made Midoriya worried, because the sports festival gathers all the students in the academy, so winning in the final round is very difficult. All Might noticed Midoriya's anxiety. He told him to remember his motivation when he was at the beach. The next morning, many students gathered outside Midoriya's classroom, which made Bakugo very uncomfortable, because he realized these people were probing their strengths. Suddenly, a guide taunted Bakugo too arrogantly, making him furious. He said even if Class A of Bakugo was outstanding, just losing vigilance would lead to defeat by other classes. Midoriya realized he was declaring war. Suddenly, a guy from Class B also wanted to fight them, but Bakugo didn't care and walked away, because his goal would be to be top 1, making Kirishima's group admire Bakugo. While Midoriya remembered, Bakugo had once declared he would definitely become top 1, helping Midoriya remember his determination at the beach, and he started training to prepare for the sports festival in 2 weeks. While his classmates were still trying to train, because they realized this sports festival was an opportunity for them. On Ochako's team, they were practicing controlling their meta abilities. Kirishima is training to increase the hardness of his body. Bakugo is trying to create a very large explosion. The sports festival has arrived very quickly. Early in the morning, Midoriya was already prepared to depart, so his mother immediately cheered him on, while there were many reporters gathering at the academy, making them very excited, because they wanted to see the top candidates from Class A compete. Midoriya's class had already changed into their sports uniforms. Lita announced to everyone that the competition had begun. This made Midoriya worried. Suddenly, Shoto said to Midoriya, "I know you have caught All Might's eye, but I will defeat you." This surprised Midoriya, because he realized that Shoto was challenging him. Even though Midoriya knew Shoto was stronger than him, and there were many strong individuals in other classes, he still declared, "I will strive to reach the goal with all I have." This made Bakugo uncomfortable. At this moment, the sports festival officially began. While Midoriya's mother and All Might were eagerly watching Midoriya, he stepped onto the arena. Seeing many people observing them made Midoriya anxious, but Bakugo felt very excited. At this time, classes B, C, and D also appeared one after another. This greatly excited the audience, and the hero Midnight announced the rules of the competition for them, making everyone mesmerized, because she was very charming. Suddenly, she called Bakugo to make a speech, surprising Midoriya. Unexpectedly, Bakugo simply said, "I will be number 1, making all students from other classes angry. But Midoriya realized Bakugo had changed. At this point, Midnight announced, round 1 would be an obstacle course race, so everyone got into position, while Midoriya remembered his promise to All Might. Although he hadn't mastered One for All yet, he was determined to become stronger. The race began, and everyone raced each other, running as fast as they could. Unexpectedly, the exit was very small. Midoriya got stuck inside. Suddenly, Shoto used his ice quirk and froze everyone. They couldn't move, but Bakugo's team immediately chased after. Shoto realized his classmates were avoiding his freezing technique. Even many students from other classes. When Mineta thought he caught up with Shoto, he was immediately attacked. Midoriya realized it was a villain robot. Turns out, they were their obstacles. Seeing the gigantic villain robots, causing worry among everyone. When a villain robot attacked, Shoto immediately froze it, and he easily passed through, continuing to run forward, while Midoriya was thinking of ways to overcome these villain robots. Unexpectedly, Kirishima was hit and pinned by the freezing robot. But, thanks to his hardening quirk, because this ability can harden his body, suddenly, a Class B student with a similar quirk to Kirishima appeared. Turns out he's Tetsu with the ability to turn his body into steel. So, both of them continued chasing Shoto, while Bakugo used his explosion quirk to fly past the villain robot. But, two people caught up to him. Honda with the ability to create tape from his elbows, and Fumikage with the dark shadow quirk, allowing him to control his shadow. At this point, Lita and the others also overcame the villain robots. Aizawa recognized his students, they overcame their fears, to use their meta abilities effectively. Meanwhile, Midoriya realized he couldn't use one for all in round 1, so he picked up a metal shield and turned it into a weapon to fight the robots. Surprisingly, his friends easily defeated the robots. While All Might knew that winning first place was particularly difficult for Midoriya, but he still believed in him. At this point, they reached the second challenge, the fall. A narrow alley had to be crossed using ropes. Suddenly, a girl felt very excited, and she immediately showed off her equipment to everyone, leaving them surprised. Unexpectedly, she used it to easily cross the mountain pass. But others still refused to give up, while Shoto remained in the lead. However, he noticed Bakugo was still chasing after him. Meanwhile, Midoriya had to climb the rope on his own to cross the mountain pass. At this point, Shoto reached the final challenge, the landmine field. He realized that hitting a mine would result in elimination. Unexpectedly, Bakugo could fly, and easily overtook Shoto. While everyone was trying to pass this challenge, Midoriya noticed that the distance to the finish line was too far, so he immediately used the metal shield to slam straight into the minefield, creating a massive explosion, helping Midoriya to quickly fly forward. It turns out Midoriya had dug up some landmines beforehand and gathered them all together. Thanks to that, Midoriya created a massive explosion. Unexpectedly, that explosion helped Midoriya surge to the lead, so Bakugo and Shoto immediately chased after him. While All Might was still very worried, Midoriya was about to fall. He realized Bakugo and Shoto would surpass him, so he continued to slam the metal shield onto the ground, creating another explosion, helping Midoriya surge forward. So, Bakugo and Shoto immediately chased after him, but in the end, Midoriya emerged victorious, making his mother very happy. Meanwhile, Tamura was also keeping an eye on Midoriya. At this moment, he realized he had won, and seeing All Might still watching over him made Midoriya very happy, while Bakugo was very angry because he had lost to Midoriya once again. Ochako quickly ran over to congratulate him, making Midoriya feel embarrassed because he thought he just got lucky. Then, Midnight announced the results of round 1. First place was Midoriya, followed by Shoto and Bakugo, along with 42 other students who passed round 1. So, she informed them, round 2 will be the cavalry battle, where students will form teams of 2 to 4 people. They will earn points by grabbing headbands from other teams, and their score will be based on their ranking from the first round. When Midoriya learns he has 10 million points, it shocks him, because he is the target of everyone. At this point, Midnight explains, the more headbands they grab, the more points they'll earn. So, Midoriya starts thinking about who to choose for his team. While many want to team up with Bakugo, because they know his quirk is suitable for this battle, suddenly, Kirishima said to Bakugo, his quirk is most suitable for Bakugo to ride on. This made Bakugo excited. At this moment, Midoriya realizes his classmates are forming teams together. But no one wants to team up with him, they even avoid him, because he is the target of everyone. Suddenly, Ochako suggests teaming up with Midoriya, which makes him very happy. Midoriya realizes that Ochako's quirk can be coordinated with others, so he seeks out Lita, because Lita's quirk can complement Ochako's, helping them to move faster. But Lita refuses, because he doesn't want to rely on Midoriya, and sees Midoriya as his rival, surprising Midoriya, seeing everyone has already teamed up. So, Midoriya realizes he needs to be serious about this. Suddenly, this girl approached Midoriya. She introduced herself as Hatsume, a student from the support department of the academy, and she proposed to team up with Midoriya. Seeing her enthusiasm surprised them, and she showed Midoriya her support equipment, making Midoriya very excited. Now he realizes he still needs one more person. Suddenly, Midoriya found the person his team needed. After everyone had formed teams, the match immediately began. It turned out Fumikage was Midoriya's choice, and he was ready to fight. While Shoto's team was strategizing, Lita asked, "Are you going to use your fire ability?" Shoto replied, "I will never resort to it." Now, everyone was ready. Unexpectedly, as soon as the match started, they all lunged at Midoriya. When Midoriya attempted to run, suddenly, he was forced down to the ground, rendering them immobile. Fortunately, thanks to Hatsume's support equipment, they were able to levitate. Others continued to attack them, but they were intercepted by Fumikage, making Midoriya very pleased, because they coordinated well. At this point, everyone was still pursuing Midoriya. Suddenly, Shoji ran up to him. They were also blocked by opponents ahead of them. When Ochako attempted to fly up, she realized her feet were stuck by Mineta's sticky ball meta ability. Suddenly, Tsuyu covertly used her tongue to attack them. But Midoriya managed to dodge. He then activated the switch to help the support device fly up, but it was also damaged. Unexpectedly, Bakugo immediately chased after Midoriya. He kept thinking he would grab the headband, but Fumikage used his dark shadow to restrain him. Seeing Bakugo being pulled back surprised everyone, because as long as his feet didn't touch the ground, he wouldn't break the rules. Midoriya realized they needed to change their plan to help them stay in the game until the end. Suddenly, Bakugo's headbands were snatched away, surprising him. It turned out this guy had been observing Bakugo all along, waiting for the opportunity to grab his headbands, but he kept taunting Bakugo, making him angry. So, Bakugo decided to deal with him first. Meanwhile, Midoriya was facing Shoto on Mineta's side. He had lost his headbands, leaving them puzzled as to why they were taken. Thus, they decided to attack Midoriya together, while Midoriya was being targeted by Shoto. Thus, they also began their assault, but many teams targeted them as well. Suddenly, Denki used electric attacks, stunning everyone with electricity, and Shoto immediately froze the ground to stop the other teams in their tracks, and he also snatched their headbands. Meanwhile, Midoriya was trying to escape, but Shoto continued to pursue. So, Fumikage immediately attacked. Momo quickly blocked the attack. Suddenly, Midoriya realized that Fumikage's meta ability would be stronger in darkness. But Midoriya's team was also cornered, so Midoriya found a way out for them. Meanwhile, Bakugo had his headbands taken by that guy, making Bakugo very angry. Thus, he decided to deal with them. So, Bakugo's team charged ahead, but he easily blocked Bakugo's attacks. He even used Bakugo's meta ability. He touched Kirishima. When Bakugo attacked again, he used Kirishima's power to block it. At this moment, Bakugo realized that his ability was copy. His name is Nato. He can use anyone's meta ability for 5 minutes by touching them. When Bakugo was about to attack again, they were stopped by another team. Kirishima's legs became immobilized, so they ran away. But Nato taunted Bakugo because his speech would become his #1 nonsense, making Bakugo extremely angry. At this point, there was only 1 minute left in the match. Midoriya's team was surrounded by Shoto's ice. But Shoto realized Midoriya was still maintaining distance, so he thought Midoriya must have a plan. Suddenly, Lita used all his strength to propel Shoto towards grabbing Midoriya's headbands, so fast that he didn't have time to react. Turns out, Lita can generate explosive power once, but his engine will have to stop for a while. This surprised Midoriya, because his score had returned to 0. So, Midoriya decided to counterattack. Suddenly, Ochako stepped forward, making Midoriya remember everyone's determination. Thus, he immediately used One for All, making Shoto have to use fire to block. Meanwhile, Bakugo chased after Nato, but he was stopped by an air barrier. Surprisingly, Bakugo broke through that shield, and he managed to reclaim his headbands, helping Bakugo's team rise to 3rd place. However, Bakugo still wants to get 1st place, so they continue to chase after Nato. Bakugo's team then cooperates with each other, and continued to snatch Nito's headbands. Thanks to that, Bakugo's team secured 2nd place, so he began to search for Midoriya and Shoto. Meanwhile, Midoriya had used One for All, and he pushed Shoto's fire hand away. Unexpectedly, Midoriya's hand was not injured, so he managed to reclaim his headbands. Suddenly, Midoriya realized he had been tricked, because these headbands were only worth 10 points, and they only had 10 seconds left, so he told Fumikage to attack. Suddenly, Bakugo also appeared. Midoriya realized the opportunity had come, thus, he rushed towards Shoto. Unexpectedly, time was up, leaving Midoriya and Bakugo disappointed, while Shoto realized he had just faced danger. In the end, the 1st place team was Shoto's. Bakugo's team ranked 2nd. While Midoriya was disappointed, apologizing to everyone. Suddenly, Fumikage informed him that, when Midoriya was attacking, he managed to grab headbands worth 615 points, securing 4th place for Midoriya's team. This made him very happy. Meanwhile, Shoto was furious, because Midoriya had forced him to use fire. Now, as everyone was waiting for the next round of the competition, Shoto encountered Midoriya alone, sparking his curiosity. He didn't know what Shoto wanted to say to him. Meanwhile, All Might met with Endeavor, the number 2 hero. At that moment, Shoto said to Midoriya, "You forced me to break my oath," because Shoto had to use his left arm during the battle. Shoto realized, Midoriya's power is very similar to All Might's. So, Shoto asked, "Are you All Might's illegitimate child?" This left Midoriya feeling confused, unsure how to explain to Shoto, but Shoto said, "If you're like the number 1 hero, then I'll definitely defeat you." Meanwhile, Endeavor didn't show any friendliness towards All Might, but All Might still followed him, wanting to ask how he taught his next generation. This made Endeavor very uncomfortable and he left, and he said, "I will turn Shoto into the number 1 hero. Surely he will surpass him." It turns out Endeavor's ambition is to become the number 1 hero, but he could never surpass All Might. So, he found a way to marry Shoto's mother. This way, Shoto could possess both fire and ice abilities. From then on, he was determined to raise Shoto to surpass All Might. This made him angry, knowing he was just a tool of Endeavor, and he always made Shoto's mother cry, making her resent Shoto's left side, even pouring boiling water on his face. So, Shoto will aim for the top spot without using Endeavor's power. Bakugo has overheard everything. Shoto thinks Midoriya's circumstances are different from his own, but he still intends to defeat Midoriya. Suddenly, Midoriya said to Shoto, "I've always been helped by others, and now I can stand here, so I have to strive to be number 1. And I will defeat you too." Thus, Shoto walked away. Bakugo also saw Midoriya's determination. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Oni-chan in the next videos. Thank you for watching. Love you all.